In 24.3, we allow functions and store procedures to run as the security definer, which put simply means run as the person who created me. This is opposed to running as the invoker, which is CockroachDB's default method of creating functions and store procedures. That runs as the person invoking the store procedure. And you might want to consider security definer if you need to hide data from a user that needs access to that data without actually needing direct access to the data. In today's demo, I'll show you how to create a function to abstract away sensitive information from a user that shouldn't have access to it, whilst allowing them to perform their role. I'll create a cluster. I'll just use demo for this. RC simply means I'm running the release candidate for CockroachDB 24.3. I'll create a table to store products, and I'll create a table to store product sale information. So the name of the sale, the amount of discount off a product, and the start and end date of that sale. In this example, I'll have an e-commerce team user who will need to tweak various information in the database, but I don't want to give them direct access to any of the tables. So I'll create that user and then log in as that user down here. That user has no read or write access to any of the tables in the database. And just to demonstrate that, I'll try to insert a sale into the product sale table. We'll start our Black Friday sale on November the 29th and finish it the next day, giving all products a 20% discount. Now, because they don't have insert permissions, that fails. And this user doesn't even have select permissions. So how can I give them access to perform their role without giving them direct read or write access to the table? Well, for that, we have the security definer role that can be added to store procedures or functions. I'll create a store procedure without the security definer to start off with, just to show you how it behaves in comparison. This statement will create a procedure called create sale that takes in the name of the sale, the start date, the end date, and the amount of discount. If the discount is greater than 20%, I raise an error. If the sale date is before the start date, I raise an error. Otherwise, I create the product sale. Notice there's no security definer on this, so by default, it will be created as security invoker. If my e-commerce team user tries to execute that procedure now, they don't have insert access to the underlying tables. The procedure is being invoked as them, and it's taking their access to that table when being invoked. I'll now alter the procedure to change its runtime behavior to execute as the definer, i.e. in this case, root, who does have access to the underlying tables. So whoever calls the procedure, in this case my e-commerce team member, without needing any access to the underlying table, will be able to call it successfully. If I call the same thing that just failed again, this time it succeeds. I still have no access to the table, but if I select from the table as the root user up here, I can see that my Black Friday sale has been inserted successfully. By default, all store procedures and functions will run as security invoker. They'll run as the person executing them. So that user will need access to the underlying tables that that function or procedure interacts with. Having security definer allows users just enough access to do their job without resulting in permission sprawl. You can keep access to your database objects very focused. And as we just saw, a user can write to a table that they don't have access to thanks to security definer.